I see my man in the background. The one, the only, Dan Kovalik. How you doing, man? You doing okay this morning?
I'm good. How are you, my friend?
I am doing well. Better that you are joining me, Dan. And just for the audience to know, Dan Kovalik, he's an American human rights, labor rights lawyer, political activist. He previously taught human rights or international human rights at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law. And he is defending Petro Gustavo, correct?
Yep. President of Colombia, Gustavo Petro. Exactly.
I'm sorry, I inverted the names. I'm sorry. Um, Congratulations on that, by the way. I'm always so impressed when I hear that.
Oh,
That's just
thank you. Thank you very
fantastic.
much.
By the way, before we get into the story I want to hit, what's the latest on that case?
Well, let's just put it this way. There are discussions happening to deal with that situation. But at this point, I'm not at liberty to say, to give any details on it. So,
okay,
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's on the down low at this point.
It's on the down low. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But talks are being had.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Can you talk around the case about the Hegseth stuff and some of the other killings that are taking place?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a separate matter. I mean, and I am representing the family of one of the fishermen killed by the United States, and we have brought an action on that, and that I can freely talk about.
Has that hit the court?
I mean, what's that?
Has that hit the courts yet, or it's in the process?
We brought it before the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, which is a body created under the Organization of American States.
Okay.
It's not one people think a lot about, but actually, it's the rights we're suing under are created by the American Declaration on the Rights and Duties of Man, which is the oldest human rights instrument ever signed. It was signed in Bogota, Colombia in 1948. It's actually known as the Bogota Declaration, colloquially. And that's what we brought the case against the United States.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Was there a response on that, or because I'm unfamiliar with the body?
Yeah, no. We filed the petition about 2 weeks ago, just under 2 weeks ago, and there's been no response. But I wouldn't expect one this quickly. So
now, what do they have the power to do?
Well, their power is limited to making recommendations. They could recommend compensation for the family, that the U.S. stop these killings. In fact, we're going to file a request for preliminary measures, which would do that, which would tell the U.S. to stop the killings. The truth is they don't have enforcement power. What has enforcement is the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, which the commission can refer a case to. However, the U.S. is not subject to the jurisdiction of that court because it never agreed to do that, right? This is a very classic case of where the U.S. wants everyone else to be subject to an international law system, but not themselves. However, we think that with public pressure combined with a favorable ruling from the commission, that we can get the same results. So that's why we brought it there.
What I want to hit you with, thank you for that, by the way. I would love for you to keep me updated on this case.
Absolutely. And by the way, we are thinking of another case of where I was approached by a congressman's office on this. I won't mention which one at the moment, but that wants to help. And he actually, I didn't know this. There's a procedure to sue the Navy itself for this type of crime, and so that may happen as well. So that's under consideration.
Left wing, right wing.
Congressman. Left wing for sure. You want to guess? Is that you gonna try to get? Oh,
Well,
it's fine.
if I guess, would you say yes or no?
I'll just say who it is. It's Jesse Jackson's son out of Atlanta.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay, I
his
was never going to
office.
get that. I was never going to
His
get that.
office called me, and they're very keen on helping with this. There's a lot of people very disgusted by what's happening. I mean, rightly so.
Well, as they should be. I mean,
Of
it's
course,
just mass murder, right?
it's
I
murder.
mean,
It's murder, pure
yeah,
and simple. It's terrorism. If any other country was doing it, if Russia were doing this in the Black Sea, I mean, can you imagine the outcry? You know,
yeah. China is spraying water on Filipino ships, and they're outraged. They're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe the Chinese is doing this." Yeah,
right.
just murdering people en masse. It's just outrageous.
And of course, you saw also that the U.S., of course, I'm sure you've talked about it, hijacked a oil tanker from Venezuela, kidnapped the crew, is
Yep.
stealing the oil. I mean, the U.S. Actually, it was President Maduro who said this. I mean, they're the pirates of the Caribbean. You know, I
They
mean that's
are.
just the truth. They're engaged. The U.S. is engaged in piracy on the high seas. It really is something. You know,
And there's no consequence. That's the
there's no
wild
way.
part.
Yeah, because you know the U.S. they are governed only by by the law of the jungle, that the mighty rule, and the U.S. certainly is one of the most powerful countries in the world. So they do as they will.
Yeah.
Chomsky used to say that the U.S. does as it will, as it wants, and the poor endure what they must. You know.
I thought that was Varoufakis who said, what is it? The strong do as they may and the weak suffer what they must, or something to that
Yeah,
effect.
well, maybe Chomsky was quoting.
Okay,
Uh,
fair enough.
yeah,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
but I remember Chomsky saying. Of course, now Chomsky. We'll have to talk about Chomsky at some point and his Epstein stuff, which is quite strange. But
Yeah, I didn't bring you on to talk about that, but if you want to say something about it, feel free. It's very awkward because Chomsky has been one of those guys that has been this kind of left wing, considered radical thought leader, and then you find all of the stuff with Epstein. It's just very strange.
yeah, and a person who up till now has been scandal free. I mean, he really has seemed like a rock solid guy, a good father,
Yeah,
a good husband, just like a nice guy with great politics to a point. I think a lot of us thought in his later years he seemed less radical. Um, but in any case, yeah. But now this
no,
comes out. Now, first of all, it should be said there's no inkling that he had anything to do with the Epstein Island and the girls and all that.
right.
That I don't think that was what was happening. But I think what's disappointing is he seemed to enjoy hobnobbing with these people that he saw as powerful, like Steve Bannon. There's a fairly recent photo of him with Steve Bannon. Um, he said that he flew on Epstein's plane because he wanted to meet Woody Allen, and Epstein was able to set that up, and Epstein was able to move some money for him, basically launder money for him,
No,
about $275,000 after his wife died for tax purposes or something. He asked Epstein to move this money around for him. It's just very strange stuff. Very strange stuff. It just comes off as a guy, let's put it this way, compromised with his connections, not just to elites, but bad, kind of bad elites, if there's any good ones. But uh,
it's a bad.
um, and he fawns. There's some statements he made, I think even in writing, where he just fawns over Epstein and how smart he thinks he is and insightful, and it's just
Is this, had he been convicted up to this point?
He
Or
had been, all this is happening after Epstein was convicted for
oh, that is
soliciting a
grotesque.
minor.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course,
grotesque.
Chomsky's response to that is, well, he paid his dues, but okay. I mean, but that's something a lawyer would say. It doesn't make him a great guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he didn't do what he was convicted of, and also it probably shows that he has a propensity for this sort of thing. But none of that seemed to matter to Chomsky. Again, a very strange, very strange. And the question, all the question is, how does Chomsky even get to know Epstein? Who makes that connection? I mean, you get this impression that Epstein just had tentacles everywhere, right?
What
He
it's
just
wild. I mean, like
he,
the number of people that he's been hobnobbing with, like the political connections, the Hollywood connections, the financial connections, like he's everywhere. It's
yes,
very
and
bizarre.
and it seems that he was doing that to be able to blackmail people. Was that true with Chomsky? I mean, did he think he had something over Chomsky? Um, I don't know. I mean, the whole thing's very strange, and I'd say disappointing. People are people. No one's perfect, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a
And
person.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not trying to give him a pass, but he's a person. I mean, it's like, oh, I get to meet Woody Allen. It's that stuff, right? Like, or hey, he can make connections with me for so and so. Meaning, it sounds like transactional relationship where Epstein was getting something out of it. Maybe Epstein just wanted to know Chomsky. Chomsky wanted to
well,
know
yeah,
other
I think
people in the
that was
book.
it. I mean, that could have been it too. I mean, they were enamored with each other,
Yeah.
because of their own their respective status. I guess the other thing Epstein did for Chomsky was put him in touch with Barack, the former prime minister of Israel.
Hmm.
Um, Again, for what purpose, I don't know. But anyway, there you go. I mean, it's an interesting subject. I'm sure your audience is probably as fascinated by that as anything. But
It's bizarre. When I heard this, I was like, it's just strange. It's like I don't even know. Like, yeah, it's just strange. It's just very strange. And I think the thing is, people wouldn't necessarily think Chomsky would be the person who would do something like this. But again, this is based off reputation, not because any of us know Chomsky, if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, I met him before. I knew
have you?
his daughter quite well, and she introduced me to him. I visited him at his office at MIT some
What would
years
you read on
ago.
him?
What's that?
What would you read on him? What did you?
Well, I found him to be a very nice, humble person, actually. I mean, his office was, I mean, nice, and he had assistants and everything. I mean, but it was kind of messy, and he had, stacks of books everywhere. And the only poster he had on his wall was of the six Salvadoran priests that were killed in 1989, and also Oscar Romero was on that same poster,
Yeah,
um, which I found fascinating. And I mean, in terms of just judging him, I mean, again, this goes against this thing about being a hobnobber. I mean, we were there in the afternoon, like 3ish, 2ish, 3ish, and he hadn't eaten lunch yet. And he said, "Do you mind if I eat my lunch?" And it was just a bagel. A bagel with American cheese that he brought with him in a little plastic baggie. I mean, again, the guy wasn't eating lobster or anything.
right.
Um, so, I came away with a very good impression of him. And Avi and all his kids love him. I mean, they said he was a great dad. I mean, and she's made that clear to me. Like, she's like, a lot of people with famous parents. You know, a lot of famous people tend to have focused on their work much more than their families, right? And many times maybe to the
Chomsky wasn't
detriment of
like
their
that.
family. She said that was not true with him, and she
Yeah.
had not a bad word for him. So I mean, that says a lot to me. So I think he's probably a very, there's a lot of good there, and he's probably a good person in many regards. But I don't know. all of us have
are flawed.
things, I guess, we're
Yeah,
tempted
all of us are
by or
flawed.
whatever. And again,
Yeah.
for him, it wasn't women, apparently. I mean, that was not what that was about. Although, as you know, when his wife died, he ended up marrying a woman very much younger than himself. But fine, I don't. It's fine. Um,
That's tough, man. Like I went on a date in Malaysia. She was 18 years my junior. That's very awkward. Like it's just
yeah, no,
coffee.
and this was, I think she was a few decades younger than him. I mean, which still made her in her 40s or something, but
Yeah.
because he's an old guy. But anyway, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Again,
He's a
I
person.
wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is nothing that I've heard that would lead me to say, "Oh, fuck Chomsky," or so.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
But
It's just strange. It's
it's
just very strange.
interesting. It
Um,
shows what power can do. What again, the power that Epstein had. He clearly had power and could do things for people, and you know,
the
he used.
transactional relationships.
Well, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. You know,
There are two big stories that I want to hit, and you are the person to talk to about them. One is the Bondi Beach shooting.
yeah.
Um, I am, as I told my audience, I'm very callous at this point. So I want to get your take on it. The other one is the Americans that were killed in Syria by an ISIS gunman,
Oh
which
yeah, yeah, yeah.
super
Or was
ironic.
it ISIS? Or I thought it was even maybe HTS, the government forces. But in any case,
Well,
yes.
from my understanding, it was the government forces, but the
Yeah,
government forces are effectively many of those people are ISIS.
yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
so let's start with Bondi Beach. Give me your take on that. Give me your read on that. I look. I would tell you, I am after watching so many Palestinians get slaughtered and murdered under this idea of a quote unquote Jewish state. And even though I make a distinction between Zionists and Jews, many people don't. And the government of Israel effectively has been going on a murder spree where we've been watching um, almost daily just massacres. I'm more so shocked that this hasn't happened sooner. And by the way, not co signing it. I don't want any innocent person to get killed. But if you are murdering like 100,000 people in the name of quote unquote a Jewish state, obviously there are going to be people who respond to that in ways that are going to be explosive and kinetic. Give me your thoughts on it, though.
Yeah, well, that's what Max Blumenthal is saying. He's Jewish, and he's very clear about that. That Israel creates more anti-Semitic sentiment than anyone.
Yeah.
And on purpose. That's the other thing Blumenthal says, and I agree. That and you see Netanyahu couldn't have been happier that this had happened because he's going to exploit it, and guess who's going to pay the price for it? The Palestinians. You
Yes.
know,
Yes.
so obviously I condemn that act of terrorism, and that's what it appears to be. And the one, I guess, positive thing was that apparently a Muslim man,
Yep.
risked his life um, to
Ahmed El Ahmed
disarm one of the individuals. So that's, I'm glad that that happened, and
got
I
shot
think,
twice.
yeah, I think that will, I hope, uh, mitigate the anti-Muslim frenzy that could result from all this. We live in a very dangerous and violent world, and what can you say? What can you say? I mean, we're seeing, as you say, in Gaza, we're seeing that sort of thing every day, and in the West Bank,
Yes.
honestly,
It
and
makes
in
you
South
proud.
Lebanon, so, and to much, less outrage, amongst the West. No one seems to care about those killings. And that's how it's always been, but so those are my thoughts on that. I mean, you know, we'll see who these people really were that carried out these killings. You know, if we'll ever find out, who knows? But
Well, they're saying on social media, this has been going around, I guess, in alt social media, that this was staged, that this was some kind of false flag. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know why it would need to be a false flag. Like that's like if when I'm looking at the world and I come to a conclusion about what I think is taking place. To me, is it a rational act, or at the very least, is a not rational act? Is it an expected act that after murdering hundreds of thousands of people of the particular demographic for 3 years, with the world seemingly not caring, that somebody will respond in an overt kinetic fashion? Well, the answer is yes. Meaning, I don't need it to be a false flag.
well,
And
yeah, no, you're right. Although, if it's true that that these folks who did this carried it out because they're upset about what's happening in Gaza. I mean, this is a terrible way to express that. I mean, because for the reasons we just said,
yeah,
because it predictably will come back on the Palestinians. This is
yeah.
not going to help the cause of those advocating for the Palestinians. So, um, all I
Well, I
can
don't.
say is those people, if that's why they did what they did, they're not only mean, they're stupid.
I don't think they did it to help. I think they did it out of rage. There's a
Yeah,
difference.
but I mean, again, it's just so misplaced rage that it borders on, it's so irrational as to border on, I don't know, the insane, and that's why I think some people think it's a false flag because it's otherwise inexplicable. Again, it's predictably the outcome is bad. But in any case, but I don't at this point. There's no evidence it's a false flag, so I'm not going to
Right.
jump to that conclusion.
But
But again, it will help Israel. That's what I mean. It doesn't matter if it's a false flag or not. It will help Israel. The result is the same.
is it really inexplicable? I mean, I think this is the most explicable thing in the world. I mean, I don't know if explicable is a word, but if I give you an example.
Yeah, but
In
to
the
kill
United,
soft targets, I don't know. I never understood it. I never understood why you
by the
would
way,
do
I'm
that.
not agreeing that this is okay.
Oh, I know,
So
but you know
I
what
don't
I'm
want.
saying? Like, I mean, you and I are outraged. I'm outraged. I'm not going to do something like that. I mean, um, it's so crazy. Yeah.
A cop kills an African American in the States. A cop kills an African American in the States. You get massive amount of protests that takes place, and you get police who are terrified and looking around corners because they think that they are now on the chopping block because of something that effectively took place that one of them did. Meaning, it's a cause and effect. The fact that you have in the name of the Jewish state, has killed hundreds of thousands of people, starved millions, and has done this with impunity and continues to do it with impunity. And you have Jews celebrating a holiday. It's true that those are soft targets, but the fact that they've called themselves a Jewish state assigns a certain level of, let's say, responsibility, quote unquote, on Jews that, whether fair or not, is going to be looked at in those terms. I guess I'm saying it is, for me, infinitely foreseeable that something like this was going to take place.
Well, I mean, perhaps. I mean, certainly that's what Netanyahu's been saying.
Well, he's the cause.
Yeah, in
I,
many ways. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this wouldn't happen if Netanyahu wasn't out there effectively committing murder, and the majority of the Israel agreeing with the murders that he's effectively committing. I don't know. Like I said, I've become callous over this stuff. I've watched this stuff take place with nobody giving a shit for the last 3 years, and this selective value that is being applied to one but not the other is disgusting, frankly.
Well, of course it is. Of course it is.
Yeah. Let's go to Syria. So, CENTCOM puts out that apparently 2 soldiers and 1 bystander was effectively murdered by ISIS. I agree with you, from my understanding, that this was somebody who was effectively part of the government, part of HTS. And Donald Trump, who bought Al Jelani, Al Shara, choose your flavor of ice cream that you want to name him, comes to the US. Donald Trump shakes his hand. Donald Trump gives him a vote of confidence. The guy used to be leader of ISIS. And now you have this bizarre situation where they're saying ISIS killed somebody, with the president of the United States having given his full-throated support to the former head of ISIS. This is bizarre.
Yeah, well, it is bizarre that he did that. I mean, except that we know that the U.S. has been partnering with groups like ISIS and Al Qaeda for years to do what
Yes.
they did in Syria. But as always, they're not reliable people, and they will bite the hand that feeds them, and that that's what we're seeing. I mean, the other thing is that that the HTS has 26 different factions, and each faction has factions within it. So, I
Mhm.
mean, and a third of the fighters for HTS are foreign fighters, right? They're not Syrian
Yep.
and don't even speak Arabic. So
Wow.
how can one depend on that group to act in any kind of way? I mean, uh, it's a classic case of Frankenstein's monster. I mean, the U.S. creates these monsters and then once in a while gets burned by them, and so that's what we're seeing. I mean, yeah, so from an out, not knowing all the history here, I mean, yeah, it's crazy that Trump would have welcomed him to DC. Honestly, it's crazier and more upsetting that Putin welcomed him to Moscow.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, after years of fighting this guy, right? I mean, the U.S. was working with El Jelani to overthrow Assad, okay? Putin was fighting him and lost many Russian lives and much Russian treasure fighting him, and then he brings him to Moscow and has a state meeting with him. That is more crazy to me and disappointing. And
Yeah.
that feeds into the conspiracy theories people have that Russia laid down for him and kind of let this happen, which, so, I mean, the whole world community has accepted this guy. I mean, practically, I don't know if Iran has, but I mean, you're talking only a couple countries maybe that haven't. He's been welcomed as part of the United Nations. I mean, it's just really crazy.
Yeah. I had Vanessa Beeley on the show, and her and I were talking, and she pointed out that because of his, let's say, relationship with the United States, because of his overt relationship with Israel, um, especially while Israel is attacking the country and stealing and balkanizing the country, that they are creating new members of ISIS. Basically, it's like it's expanding the pool of ISIS in a way that Al Jelani doesn't necessarily control. Give me your take on that. I mean, as you
Yeah,
point
no,
out, there's
I
so
mean
many
this,
factions.
these groups like ISIS, they will reproduce themselves. I mean, they now have their own state,
Yeah, that's
and
true.
they will increase their ranks. They will spread to other countries, and it's a ticking time bomb. It has been for a long time, and it's terrible. And again, the West intentionally brought this on, and they will rue the day. Everyone, in the West is complaining about immigrants, but all these wars the West has brought to the world, especially to the Middle East, has created all these immigrants, right?
Yes.
And you're just gonna have more chaos and more migration. I mean, the world has been broken in many ways by these wars. There's now, I think, more refugees in the world than ever. I think something like easily 20 million, maybe 30. And again, Brown University keeps track of this stuff. And they estimate that since 9/11, the U.S. has killed nearly 5 million Muslims.
That's astonishing.
I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I urge people to go to the Brown University site and look at that. They keep a running tally of these things, and the trillions of dollars spent on these things. I mean, it's just like the West picked up the world like a snow globe and just smashed it. And yeah, the results are catastrophic.
What do you think is going to be the ultimate outcome of Syria? Because he doesn't seem like he has power in this sense. There are too many groups. There's too much land being balkanized.
I think it's going to be anarchy. I think it's going to be chaos. I agree. I think there is. I don't know how much governing Al-Jilani's doing. I think it's going to be awful. It's going to be awful for the Syrian people. It already is. I mean, the pluralistic society that existed for centuries has been crushed.
Yeah.
Because Al-Jilani's forces, which is basically Al-Qaeda, is doing what the West had predicted, and they're setting up a religious caliphate. I was in Syria in 2021, and you could go into the Christian quarter of Damascus, and you could have a drink of alcohol, at any time of day. There's a nice little square there that you could do that. All those bars have been shut down. You cannot get alcohol anymore because the government has shut that down.
Why do they believe that they're going to be able to control whoever comes after Jilani? And that's assuming Jilani maintains power.
I don't think the West thinks that far ahead. They'll deal with that when it comes. They were dead set on destroying, Assad's government, and they did that, and they're happy with it. What comes next? What comes next? Who knows? In Israel, as Jilani was taking over, as you know, Israel bombed Syria many times and destroyed all of its defenses.
Right.
So there is no state, basically. And that's how they wanted it. That's what the West wanted. And again, the Syrian people will suffer greatly from all this, and that the West doesn't care. So it has been eliminated as part of the resistance, and that's what the U.S. and its allies wanted. So, and of course, with the goal being that they want to do the same thing to Iran.
Can you explain something to me? And I guess this could be the last question. For one, Netanyahu is trying to politicize the Bondi Beach thing to act as if Hezbollah or Iran has something to do with it, which is
absurd. Absolutely absurd. This is not what they do. Yeah.
Can you explain why Hamas was cheering the fall of Syria? That still confuses me.
Yeah, it's not confusing. It's disappointing, but it's not surprising. It's because Hamas ideologically grew out of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the Muslim Brotherhood has ideological ties to Al-Qaeda. So that's where their sympathies lied, and Hamas was involved actively in the war in Syria to topple Assad. They actively had fighters there fighting Assad. And what happened is, before Assad was overthrown, at some point there was a rapprochement between Assad and Hamas. And Hamas kind of apologized for what it did, because they did realize that this was not good for them, ultimately. But
how did they not know that? Where did they think weapons were coming from? Where did they think the resistance and pipeline and all this stuff was?
They thought that they could could maybe take over Syria, right? They did think that. They had delusions of grandeur, right? And that never happened, obviously. And again, they regretted it greatly, but they did it, and they never liked Assad, even though he helped them. But they still didn't like him. Again, they were happy to bite the hand that fed them too. Is the truth.
Wow.
You know, so and that now we get what we get. I mean, that it's a terrible thing, man. There was a lot of treachery to go around. I mean, the Syrian people were betrayed by a lot of people, and Hamas was one of them. That's just a fact. I mean, I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat that.
Yeah. Dan, you have my appreciation for joining me, man. You really do.
I'm always happy to. I like you. I like your show, and I wish you all the best.
Well, I appreciate that. I like you too. Thank you for that.
I like having I like just having a conversation. It's great. So.
Dan Kovalik, he's an American human rights, labor rights lawyer, a political activist. He previously taught international human rights at the University of Pittsburgh School of Law, and he is representing, I'm going to invert this name,
Gustavo Petro. Yes.
Yeah, Gustavo Petro, president of Colombia. So badass. That's so badass.
Thank you.
You have a good one, man. Thank you for this.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Shout out to Dan. Shout out to Dan. We've come to the end. We've come to the end.